but there's a few more things we need to draw. Let's start by adding the frets and the markings to the neck of the guitar. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit on the neck of this guitar. And let's go ahead and hide our guitar neck layer for now. Because what I want to do is I want to draw the frets for the guitar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by zooming in way up here on this first fret. I'm going to grab my line tool and I'm going to click and drag while holding the shift key to draw a fret or a line at that location. And what we'll do is we'll go to the stroke panel and I'm going to start increasing the weight until it matches up roughly with, the size of those frets. I think I'll go with 3 points. And for the color, I'm going to choose like the 10% black. So not quite pure white, but, getting pretty close. Now, one more thing I'll do is let's show the guitar neck for a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the neck and shift click on the fret. And then I'm going to click on the neck one more time to make that the key object. And in the Align panel, I'm going to go ahead and center the line or the fret to the guitar neck. Let me undo that a second. That looks pretty good. Make that the key object, center it. And as I look at this, I'm actually noticing that I could probably shift both of these over a little bit to get it lined up. So that looks pretty good. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to make sure that, the lines were centered on the neck itself. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hide the neck again. And now what I'm going to do is make copies. So I'm going to select the first line that I drew. I'm now going to hold down the Alt or Option key and start dragging. And then I'm going to add the Shift key. And when I let go of the mouse, I'll make a copy. And so to be clear, holding down Alt or Option makes the copy, but holding down Shift keeps the object aligned from its original item. And now I'm just going to repeat that process for the other frets on the guitar. So I'm just kind of, again, Alt, Shift, dragging. And again, you want to hold down Alt or Option, start dragging, then hold down the Shift key. It's kind of a weird sequence you have to follow, but if you hold down Shift and Option right away, it's not going to actually do what you want it to. It won't do all of the steps. So again, just hold down Alt or Option, start dragging, then add the Shift key. So I think we're almost done here. We have a couple more to do. And keep in mind, we're creating artwork, so we're not concerned in this case about being incredibly precise, but we want it to look realistic. All right, that looks pretty good. Now what I'm also going to do is I want to draw the fret markers on the neck of the guitar. So using my ellipse tool, I'm going to hold down Shift and I'm going to draw a circle. And you can use the technique where you add the space bar to be able to reposition it, and then you can let go and then keep drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and let go there, and I want to set my fill to that 10% black, and I think that looks pretty good. And to make sure that it's centered, I'm going to select a line and the ellipse, then I'll click on the line again to make it the key object, and then I can go ahead and center these, and I think I was pretty close with that one. Now what I'll do is I'll make a copy of this down to this position. And, compared to the image, we're a little skewed because there's some distortion, but that's okay. And then I'll make a copy up here. And then I'll make a copy over here. And if you want to, you can actually group these two together. And then if you grab one of the lines and click on the line to make it the key object, you can then use the Align panel to center them to the line. So that looks pretty good. And so we have two more down here. And we have some singles below that. So I'll go ahead and just make copies here. And again, we're running into some distortion. So I'm just going to make sure that these elements are centered to the line, which they should be, and that looks pretty good. So now what we can do is I want to mask those frets because I made them way longer than they need to be. So let's turn on the guitar neck layer, but I actually need the neck to be on top of the lines and the fret markers. I'm going to drag the guitar neck layer up, and I want that to be at the top of the stacking order. And then I'm going to go ahead and zoom out. And using my selection tool, I'm just going to marquee that entire top portion so it'll grab the neck, the fret markers, and the frets. And I'm going to go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. And what's happening, whenever you use an object to create a clipping mask, you lose the fill color by default. And so what I'm going to do is, using my direct selection tool, I'm just going to click on the mask itself, and now I can set the fill color of that to like 90% black, and now you can see that the guitar neck is exactly how we want it to be. And I'm just going to zoom in down here because what I would like to have happen, I just want to kind of make sure that the neck itself is kind of centered on the strings, and I think it looks pretty good. That doesn't look too bad. So now we have the neck finished, and that's looking pretty good. Maybe what I'll do to add one more element is I'm just going to draw the sound hole on here. So I'll go ahead and use my ellipse tool and just shift drag to create an ellipse the size of that sound hole. And that's looking pretty good. And what you can do is, if you leave this selected, what we can do is show the guitar body, use the eyedropper to pick up the color from the guitar body, okay? And now I'll hide that guitar body, and now you can see that we have the sound hole filled. And if you come up here to the color panel, it's showing you the current fill. I'm going to hold shift as I drag one of these sliders, and that'll allow me to darken the hue of that shape. And that's looking pretty good. So in the layers panel, I'm going to rename that layer to sound hole. And then this is now called clipping group, but we can rename that one to the guitar neck group. Oops. Let's rename that properly. There we go. And so again, as I said before, things are coming along nicely. We can turn on the guitar body, and now we can start to see, what our artwork looks like. So in the next video, we'll finish drawing the remaining elements of this guitar.